All right, folks, good morning. Let's get started here. So for today, Monday, sorry, January 27th, we have the following information. At 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to have new home sales. Not a major report, but of significance. It's medium significance, so we can expect a little bit of market movement. Um, that's it for today, but we do have some other big news coming up later this week. Looking at the NASDAQ ETF, the QQQ, you can clearly see the markets are down sharply from where they were on Friday's close. Now, there are lots of different reasons that have been offered up as why, but all I can tell you right now is that we do have earnings coming up for four of the Magnificent Seven companies. So we have Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, and Apple all have earnings this week. Three of those on Wednesday and one on Thursday. But also on Wednesday, we're going to have the FOMC's rate decision. So there's a lot of big news this week that could massively affect the markets. Either way, this is where we stand right now. Very aggressive selling uh, over the pre-market. So we'll see how that pans out during the day. Uh, Trading action was actually bearish on Friday as well, but obviously this is a pretty large drop. So we'll see how things play out. Now, we did not find any successful opportunities for stocks on Friday, so I'll skip that part. But we looked at three: ITCI, AVGO, and Coinbase. None of those worked out the way we wanted, so it was one break even and two losses. So looking at today's pre-market action, here's what we got so far. All right, remember I mentioned Apple. Apple's currently down 0.02%, but I do want to show you that even after that gap down, it is recouping a lot of its losses. So it looks like this is one of the stocks that clearly uh, the market does not agree that its price should be down. So in other words, we have the group of stocks going down at first, and then going into the open, some stocks are getting bought back. This is one of them. So it doesn't qualify for our list, our watch list, but just making a note about you're going to see that for a lot of stocks. So first up is AKRO. It currently is up over 100%, over 112%. 3.8 million shares plus have traded, and it's at least $1 per share. So since that does qualify for all of our criteria, we'll then add that to our pre-market radar. Again, for the watch list, the symbol is AKRO. Next up is ALLK, but that currently is down below 30 cents a share, below $1 per share for our purposes. So this does not qualify, so we'll have to pass on that. Probably they had a failure of some kind. Let's see, yeah, it discontinues its development of a treatment. So that's that. All right, next up is Amazon. This is not down enough. It's down 3.4%, which is a lot. That is a lot. But it's coming back. Doesn't qualify for our list, but it looks a bit like the NASDAQ. Not a real recovery there. So anyway, just a note there. Next up is APLD. All right, that one is currently down 9.6% on about 1.9 million shares, trading at least $1 per share. That fully qualifies, so we'll go ahead and add APLD to our pre-market watch list. All right, next up is ASST. That's currently down 8% with 6.4 million shares trading at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add ASST to our pre-market watch list. Next up is AVGO, Broadcom. That is currently down 10.4% with 4.7 million shares trading at least $1 per share. Massive decline in price. So we can add that to our pre-market radar as well. Not recovering as well as the NASDAQ, I might note there. So next up is CLSK, maybe. Let's see. That's down 5.72%. So not down enough. We'll have plenty of stocks that are down, so we don't have to worry about chasing after this one, but I'll put it on our possibilities list, CLSK, in case it goes down some more. Volume and price are fine, just the percent change is not enough. We're going to have a lot of stocks on today's list, by the way. Next up is CORZ. That is presently down 16.5%, 1.9 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share, so we can add CORZ. Next up is DADA, DADA. I haven't seen this one in a while. That's currently up 29%, nearly 30% now, and at 5.4 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share as well. So we can go ahead and add DADA to the pre-market list. Seth, I'm not sure what you're asking. Could you get assigned on a option? Yes. If it's a US option, yes, you can get assigned early. That's always the case, if the option is assignable. Next up is ETNB, which is currently at 51.33% on 4.6 million shares, trading at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add that ETNB to the pre-market watch list for stocks. Next up is FMST. That is presently up 8.7% on 1.8 million shares, roughly trading at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add that FMST to our pre-market list. Next up is HOLO, which is presently up 67% on 65 million shares, trading at least $1 per share. So you can go ahead and add that to our pre-market watch list. The symbol is HOLO. Next up is Hood. And let's see, that's down 4.53%, so not enough. 1.5 million shares are traded, but it doesn't qualify for our list. But like I said, there's tons of opportunities here, so don't need to worry about that. ICCT is next. That's down 8%. 4.7 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share. We can go ahead and add ICCT to the list. Next up is INTC. Now here's a stock that is not moved enough, but I want you to note it did gap lower, but look at the recovery. Okay, so you do want to note this, not for your day trading purposes necessarily, but in general. Stocks that are refusing to go down, even though the rest of the market is down, you definitely want to note those stocks because that means that they're currently at prices that were considered too cheap, such that buyers show up quickly to move those stock prices back up. In other words, they recognize the stock is too cheap, so they start buying it up. It's the ones that are not recovering that you want to be you want to note as the ones that probably are still going to be under some bearish pressure. Next up is IREN, to check out at least. That's currently down 12.16%, 1.5 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add IREN to the list. Next up is LAES. That's currently down 10%. 3.4 million shares roughly have traded. It's at least $1 per share. We'll add LAES to the list. All right, let's keep going. Next up is that one doesn't qualify. That one doesn't qualify. Let's see. I doubt this is going to qualify either. Mara. Okay, yeah, it's down 4.65%. Not down enough. And still down, as you can see. Mildly recovering like the rest of NASDAQ. So that one's not looking so good. Next up is MLGO. We haven't seen this stock in a while. Microalgo. Currently up about 56%, 37.7 million shares are traded, and it's at least $1 per share. This is a good one. So MLGO is now up. Let's keep an eye on that one. Next up is MRVL, Marvel. That's currently down 12.12% on 1.9 million shares. It's at least $1 per share, so we can go ahead and add that to the pre-market watch list, MRVL. Okay. Next up is MSFT, Microsoft. That is currently not down enough. It's down 4%. Notice that its recovery is very comparable to the rest of the market, so nothing special going on there, clearly. But we'll pass on that either way since it doesn't qualify. Next up, MBIS. This is down 19.3% roughly. 2.2 million shares are traded. It's at least $1 per share, so we'll go ahead and add that NBIS to our pre-market list. Next up is NVIDIA. That's currently down 10.95%. 68.5 million shares have traded. It's at least $1 per share. All right, so that's a big drop, and it's recovering less favorably than the rest of the market. So that means that NVIDIA's price may be a little inflated, okay, based on that action. Next up is NVNI. That is presently down 28.18% on about 1.6 million shares, trading at least $1 per share. We'll go ahead and add NVNI to our pre-market list. All right, next up is Next up is Open Door, but that doesn't qualify. OPEN, I'll leave that one alone. I don't think it does. Let me double check. No, it doesn't. So I'll skip that one. Next up is PLTR, Palantir. Let's see. Okay, not down enough. Down 5.67%. So not enough, but looks like the rest of the market struggling to recover some of its losses. But we'll skip that one since it's not close enough for us to even consider. Plug Power, let's see. That's only down 3.85%, so we'll pass on that. Next up is RGTI. That's currently down about 10.5% roughly, 14 million shares traded. So at least $1 per share. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that to our pre-market watch list, RGTI. Next up is Riot, I guess. Yep, Riot's currently down 6.5%. About 2.3 million shares are traded. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that. Next up is RZLV. That's presently down 8%. 1.7 million shares are traded. It's at least $1 per share. We'll go ahead and add RZLV to the list. Let's check SMCI. That's currently down 8.9%. 3.9 million shares traded, at least $1 per share. Of course, SMCI is now added to our list. All right, continuing down. Next up is SoFi. That is down for a number of reasons, including earnings, down about 9.8%, 17 million shares traded, and at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add SOFI to our list. Next up is SoundHound, maybe. Yeah, it's currently down 10.5%, 4.2 million shares traded, at least $1 per share as well. So SOUN is now added. Next up is Tesla. Okay, that's only down 3.2%. So not enough, so we'll pass on that one, but worth noting. I'm sure TSLL is down, 6.5%. I'm not going to add that. It's an ETF of Tesla, but we don't have to really pay attention to that. So next up is TVGN. That's currently up 38.5%. About 32 million shares are traded. It's at least $1 per share as well. So we'll go ahead and add TVGN to our list. Next up is VCIG. Presently, that is up about 26%. 11.3 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share as well. So we'll go ahead and add VCIG to the list. Next up, we're checking VERU. That's currently down about 53%. About 5.9 million shares traded, but it's under $1 per share now, so we can't trade that, so we'll have to pass on that opportunity. Next up is WIMI. That's currently up about 40%. Very active. 5.3 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share. Very active. Moving right now, so we can add WIMI to the list. And then lastly, I got WULF, which is presently down about 14% on 2.5 million shares, at least $1 per share. All right, we won't have time to do any more since we're out of time. I have to end the broadcast, but obviously there may be other stocks, so we got enough here. So let me just post this list in the chat so we can get going. Please be sure to like the video. I see we have 5 likes, but more than 5 people watching, so please be sure to hit the like button. That greatly helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you get notifications for new videos. In the event that anyone's watching this video on a replay and you're not familiar with our company, check out fundertrading.com, the website. You'll see our link in the description to this video. Other than that, for everyone part of the coaching program, I'll see you there in about 16 minutes, 17 minutes. We'll pick up for today's session. All right, folks, have a great trading session, and I'll see you for tomorrow's pre-market pulse. Take care.